Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through all the noise and really pull out the most important, maybe even surprising developments in artificial intelligence. Today we're doing a deep dive into, well, four pretty distinct but I think equally fascinating areas where AI is making some serious waves. And there's a theme emerging, isn't there? It feels like AI is rapidly becoming this universal enabler, putting powerful tools into the hands of way more people.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Our mission today is really to synthesize these breakthroughs, kind of connect the dots between things that might seem separate at first glance. We want to help you understand not just what's happening, but, why it actually matters for you, for the wider world.
Yeah.
Because the pace of AI innovation is just, well, it's astonishing. And it is exciting to see this common thread, this accessibility and empowerment showing up across so many different fields.
Okay, so let's kick off with some pretty surprising news from the cloud computing world. Replit. They're a big name in what some people call vibe coding. They're basically making coding feel more intuitive, more fun, almost like a creative playground. You build apps with natural language. Anyway, they've just announced a major strategic partnership with Microsoft. And some folks are calling this a, quote, blow to Google Cloud.
It's definitely a significant move,
Yeah.
and it gives us a really interesting look at how cloud strategies are evolving. So the partnership means Replit is now available through Microsoft's Enterprise App Store, the Azure Marketplace. Microsoft customers can buy Replit subscriptions directly there. But beyond that, Replit's also integrating its tech with various Microsoft cloud services, things like containers.
Right, those package up codes so it runs smoothly anywhere.
Yes. Exactly. And virtual machines like having a mini computer in the cloud and also Microsoft's version of Postgres, that powerful database type, specifically the serverless version, which means you don't have to worry about managing the hardware underneath. And interestingly, Azure will actually generate revenue from Replit apps that get used in production.
Okay, but Microsoft already has GitHub Copilot, right? Which is hugely popular as an AI coding assistant. So how does this Replit partnership fit in? Is there like a risk of them stepping on each other's toes, or are they really going after different people?
Yeah, that's a really good question because while Copilot and, other tools like AnySphere's Cursor are primarily built as AI assistants for experienced programmers, Replit is aimed at a much, much broader audience. We're talking people with little, maybe even zero coding experience. Its real strength is letting users create whole web apps just using natural language prompts. It handles the back-end stuff, database, authentication, storage setup automatically. Now, programmers can still jump in and tweak the code, customize it, but the core idea is democratization. And the new marketing angle for this partnership, it's really telling. They're pitching Replit almost as a prototyping tool, like a competitor to Figma, but specifically for non-programmer business managers.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just about helping coders code faster. It's enabling literally anyone in a business to build their own tools.
Exactly. Yeah. Think about, say, a sales manager. They could use it to quickly whip up a tool to track correlations between, I don't know, contract renewals and customer support tickets. A Replit spokesperson actually said, "We are enabling all employees across all functions to develop apps regardless of coding experience." So we are complementary to Copilot from that perspective. I mean, that's a potentially massive shift in who gets to build software.
And Replit itself, I mean, their growth trajectory is just incredible. CEO Amjad Masad tweeted not long ago that the company went from $10 million to $100 million in annual recurring revenue ARR in just 6 months. That's just explosive growth.
It really is phenomenal. And just to give that some financial context, Replit's last funding round was $97.4 million, valuing them at $1.1 billion post-money. Andreessen Horowitz led that one. And apparently, they still have over half that funding in the bank, which suggests they're in pretty strong financial shape, even with that hypergrowth. They're claiming over 500,000 business users now. And it's a competitive space for sure. You've got others growing fast, like Lovable in Europe reportedly hit $50 million ARR, maybe raising it to $1 billion. And Bolt reached $40 million ARR in just 5 months. So yeah, fast-moving market.
Okay, so let's circle back to that blow to Google Cloud idea. Replit apps, they usually ran on Google Cloud, right? Google even profiled them as a partner. So how does this Microsoft deal really change the cloud picture? And what does it tell us about where AI-first companies might host their stuff in the future?
Well, the crucial detail is that the deal is non-exclusive. That's important. Replit isn't just packing up and leaving Google Cloud. They're expanding. They're adding support for Microsoft shops. So the real insight here isn't just, one cloud winning over another. It feels more like a new era of maybe cloud agnosticism for these AI-first companies. Startups like Replit, they aren't just picking one cloud provider anymore. They're strategically using multiple cloud ecosystems. And that forces providers like Microsoft and Google to compete not just on basic infrastructure, but on how well they can integrate these niche, powerful AI tools into enterprise workflows. It really highlights the strategic shifts happening for all the cloud providers as this AI development landscape just keeps evolving. And it probably opens the door for other, popular vibe coders to maybe strike similar deals down the road.
That's a really interesting way to put it. Not switching, but expanding options.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've seen AI empowering anyone to build software in the cloud. Let's take that democratization idea even further. What happens when AI lets pretty much anyone build and program a physical robot? Which brings us to Hugging Face, the big AI development platform. They're now taking orders for their new Reachy Mini desktop robots. What's the most surprising thing about these little guys? And how does this fit with Hugging Face's whole open source philosophy?
Yeah, this is a fascinating step for them. These robots, they first showed prototypes back in May, I think. They're open source, and they actually come as a kit, so developers build them themselves. Picture something about the size of like a standard stuffed animal. They've got 2 screens for eyes, 2 little antennas, and there are 2 versions. There's the Reachy Mini Wireless. That one's $449, runs on a Raspberry Pi 5 mini computer. And then there's a cheaper one, the Reachy Mini Lite, for $299, but that one needs an external computer to run it.
And once you build them, they're fully programmable in Python, which is great for developers. Plus, they come with demos pre-installed, and they integrate right into the Hugging Face hub. That gives users access to, over 1.7 million AI models for 400,000 data sets. That's a huge resource pool.
It really is. And there's actually a kind of charming story behind why there are 2 versions. The CEO, Clem DeLong, he shared that the idea for the wireless one came from feedback from an early tester. Apparently, the tester's 5-year-old daughter really wanted to carry the robot around the house with her, and DeLong said this really highlights their open source approach. She put it like, the goal is to keep carefully getting a lot of feedback from users, from the community. That's how we've always been building products. By the nature of it being open source, it means that people will be able to extend it, modify it, change everything they want.
Okay, so the target audience seems pretty clear. AI developers, people who can code, build things, test AI applications right there on the desktop robot. But what's the bigger picture here? Is it just a dev tool, or is there more to it? And, are there potential downsides, like security risks, when physical robots become this accessible and easy for anyone to modify?
The vision is definitely bigger. It's very much about community, about collective creativity. DeLang hopes users will start building and sharing specific features, specific apps for the robot. He said it could unleash the creativity of builders to build, millions of different applications, features that they can share with the community so that anyone can then plug and play with it. Now, that open source approach, it does create an interesting dynamic, right? It absolutely fuels innovation and gets more people involved. But it also kind of puts the responsibility on the community itself to spot and deal with any unintended uses or, security vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
Much like open source software. DeLang seems pretty committed to this vision, though. He said, it's really important for the future of robotics to be open source instead of being closed source, black box, concentrated in the hands of a few companies. I would much rather live in a place where everyone can have some control over the robots. Oh, and timeline-wise, the light version ships next month, and the wireless later this year.
Okay, so we've talked about AI changing how we create things, how we build things. Now let's look at how it's fundamentally changing something most of us do all the time: shopping. Specifically, how generative AI looks set to basically explode as a shopping assistant during Amazon's Prime Day sales, which this year is actually 4 days long, July 8th to the 11th.
Yeah, the predictions are pretty staggering. Adobe is forecasting $23.8 billion in online spending just across U.S. e-commerce retailers during that Prime Day window. That's a 28.4% jump year over year, almost $10 billion more than last year. Adobe's actually calling it the equivalent of 2 Black Fridays, which, wow, that really gives you a sense of the scale we're talking about.
And if we drill down into the AI part of that, mobile sales will be huge, over half, 52.5%. But traffic from generative AI tools is predicted to increase, wait for it, 3,200% year over year during this period. 3,200.
It's a massive, massive jump. Now, admittedly, it's still starting from a smaller base compared to channels like, say, paid search or email marketing. But it shows huge potential for growth, right? We actually saw a kind of preview of this during the 2024 holiday season. GenAI chatbots and browsers saw a 1,300% traffic spike between November and December. And we have some idea of how people are using it. There was a survey of 5,000 U.S. consumers. 55% said they use it for research, 47% for product recommendations, 43% for finding deals, 35% for gift ideas, another 35% for finding unique products, and 33% for making shopping lists.
That sounds incredibly useful, actually. So I imagine the user feedback is really positive, but is there any data in these sources about, potential downsides or privacy concerns, especially as AI gets more involved in bigger, more complex purchases?
The feedback on usefulness is definitely overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
A huge 92% of people who use GenAI said it actually enhanced their shopping experience, and 87% said they're now more likely to use AI for bigger or more complicated purchases in the future. Now, the sources we looked at didn't really dive deep into the downsides or privacy angle specifically, but that rapid adoption certainly suggests people are finding real value that, for now, outweighs those concerns, perhaps. And the big AI players are definitely capitalizing on this. You see Google boosting product search with Gemini, OpenAI adding shopping features to ChatGPT. So the key takeaway here isn't just the sheer volume of spending, it's the depth of AI's influence that's changing. It seems like it's moving beyond just finding simple products. It's becoming more like a trusted personalized research assistant, especially for those higher value decisions. And that could really reshape things like brand loyalty and consumer trust down the line.
Okay, and for our final topic today, let's look at perhaps the most profound application of AI we're touching on. Medicine. Alphabet's Isomorphic Labs. This is the company that spun out of DeepMind's huge AlphaFold breakthrough. Well, they're getting ready for their first human trials of drugs designed by AI. What's really striking here is just the sheer ambition, isn't it? And the potential scale of what they're trying to do.
It's absolutely groundbreaking stuff. Yeah. Isomorphic Labs has this incredibly ambitious goal, basically, to solve all diseases. That's the mission. And the plan is to do it by combining cutting-edge AI with experienced pharma veterans to design medicines much faster, cheaper, and hopefully more accurately. Its roots go right back to DeepMind's AlphaFold. That was the AI system that first got really good at predicting the structure of individual proteins, and then that technology evolved, right? It started modeling how proteins interact with other molecules, things like DNA or potential drug compounds. Colin Murdoch, who's the president of Isomorphic Labs, he said that new capability was basically the inspiration for Isomorphic Labs.
Right. And he painted a really vivid picture, didn't he? He said, there are people sitting in our office in King's Cross, London, working and collaborating with AI to design drugs for cancer. That's happening right now.
And the immediate next step, the big milestone he mentioned, is actually going out to clinical trials, starting to put these things into human beings. I mean, that is a massive leap, going from computer predictions to actually testing in people.
It really is. And you can see the momentum building. Key milestones for them include releasing AlphaFold 3 in 2024. They also announced major research collaborations last year with big pharma companies, Novartis and Eli Lilly. And then just this past April in 2025, they secured their first big external funding around $600 million, led by Thrive Capital. Those partnerships with pharma companies were absolutely crucial for actually testing and scaling up their AI-driven approach.
And we know traditional drug development is just incredibly hard. It costs often hundreds of millions, sometimes billions of dollars. And the success rate is dismal, right? Only about a 10% chance of success once a drug even makes it into trials. So what exactly is Isomorphic's plan to tackle that massive challenge? And what are maybe the biggest hurdles scientifically or practically that AI still needs to overcome to really improve those odds significantly?
Their goal is essentially to build this world-class drug design engine. It combines the machine learning experts with the pharma veterans. The idea is to use AI to speed them up, reduce the cost, but also really improve the chance that we can be successful. Murdoch's ultimate vision, his dream scenario, is to get to a point where researchers have 100% certainty that their AI-designed drugs will actually work in human trials. Now, the biggest hurdles, they're still immense. You've got the sheer mind-boggling complexity of biological systems, the almost infinite number of possible chemical compounds to explore, and just the inherent unpredictability of human biology. AI can analyze and predict way faster than humans can, absolutely. But the intricate reality of the human body still demands those rigorous, long, and very expensive clinical trials. You can't skip that step, not yet anyway. Still, Murdoch painted this really futuristic picture. He said, one day we hope to be able to say, well, here's a disease, and then click a button, and out pops the designed for a drug to address that disease, all powered by these amazing AI tools. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What does this truly mean for the future of healthcare? For how we even understand disease itself as these tools get better and better?
Wow. Yeah. We have covered such an incredible range of AI advancements today, from changing how cloud development works and empowering non-coders, to putting programmable robots right on your desk, revolutionizing how you shop,
Yeah.
and even designing drugs that could potentially save lives, cure diseases. This underlying theme, AI as this universal enabler, putting really powerful tools into more people's hands, it genuinely runs through all of these stories.
It really does. It just underscores that AI isn't just some passing fad. It's a fundamental shift. It's actively reshaping how we interact with technology, how we buy things, how we tackle even the most complex human challenges like health. And it really shows how connecting the dots between these seemingly separate areas can reveal these bigger, overarching patterns of progress and change.
So the question for you listening is maybe, what does all this mean for your own interactions with AI? And thinking about the speed of this change we've discussed, how do you think our relationship with these technologies, our ability to adapt, maybe even control them, how will that evolve as they become even more deeply woven into our daily lives? Definitely something to think about considering these rapid developments and their potential long-term impact.